Truck Sports Podcast. We dive deep, talking ball games from NFL to the NBA League. Athletes, talking coaches, strategizing. Every episode, we bring you the latest. From soccer fields to tennis courts so vast. We cover every sport, night and day fast. Hear the stories, the wins, the losses too. Our passions for sports, no matter the crew. Mack Truck Sports, where the talk never ends. From the big leagues to the little friends. Get ready for the ride, we're just getting started. Mack Truck Sports, let's make this a
Oh, good afternoon. Welcome in. You are listening, watching, viewing another edition of the TheeMackTruckPod, then the Tired Sports Network, as well as Cumulus Media Des Moines Podcast Network. I am clearly your hostess with the most, not Mayor, the Princess of Pain. That's me. We're here. It's another hot one here in Des Moines, Iowa. Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. We're here. And we're excited. We talk sports per normal. I love it. You love it. So let's get into it. Our quote of the day brought to you by none other than the one and only, the notorious Conor McGregor himself. I don't lose. I either win or I learn. One of my favorite quotes by him. And really that means it doesn't matter if it's life. Doesn't matter if it's sports. Doesn't matter if it's racing the Grand Poobah. Okay. We're not losing out here. We're winning. Okay. If we, don't come out with the win, literally always learning ways to make it better. It's what we're here for. Love it. Either way, we got just a short docket for you, but lots of details today, folks. Lots of details today. Going to be talking just WNBA recap in terms of some of the games from last night. Also going to be talking about NBA news and notes in terms of trades. Kevin Durant trade. Going to be talking about the contract deal with Kyrie Irving as well. Also going to be talking about UFC 317 International Fight Week entire preview. Okay. And then we're going to talk about just some more news and notes in terms of out of the WNBA, mainly regarding DeWanna Bonner and her now apparent exit from the Indiana Fever WNBA basketball team. So let's hop into it. Again, this portion of the show is brought to you by In My Back Apparel and Customs by none other than himself, Evan Thunder Bradfield, one half of the dynamic duo that is the Recognized Game podcast with Evan and Kayla Bradfield, also found on the Tired Sports Network with yours truly. So let's get into it. Listen, we had some WNBA games last night on Tuesday. For those of you who pay attention, okay? The WNBA is played almost every other day, it seems like. Okay? 13-team league, which makes for a lot of games, a lot of content, all of the things. You like it. I like it. I mean, if you don't like it, I don't know what you watch my show for, frankly. But if we're really getting into it here, Minnesota now they were the last undefeated team in the league. Now they're 12-2. They lose to the Washington Mystics in Washington by 4 points, 64-68. The Mystics are now 7-8 on the season, just under 500. Okay, I mean when you lose a Georgia Amore, when your best draft picks out of the 2025 draft, okay, you get a Lucy Olson out of the University of Iowa, who essentially was partly heir to the throne to the one and only Caitlin Clark over there in the University of Iowa. Okay. It makes for a good team. A team that's rebuilding, essentially. You love to see it. You love to see it. Listen, I think the trajectory of women's basketball in terms of WNBA is slowly but surely making its way to the top. Everybody wants to give flack to the WNBA about how they're a fully subsidized league, which is incorrect for the record. They are not a fully subsidized league. They are a partially subsidized league. And for those of you who don't know what subsidized means, it means they essentially do have help from their sibling league in the NBA to fund some of the payments and prices and things of the WNBA. Now, in order to really fix that, if you are in the WNBA, that type of thing, as far as the front office, Let's start by paying the players some of their jersey sales, okay? Let's start there. But there is a new collective bargaining agreement, okay, coming in 2026 for the WNBA, which I feel like most of that will fix. But either way, we're here to talk stats right now, so let's hop right into it. Alana Smith for the Minnesota Lynx, 26 points, goes 9 for 17 from the field, and goes 6 for 7 for the free throw line at just about 90% in last night's game versus the Washington Mystics, okay? Listen, Shakira Austin, 19 points, 7 for 18 from the field, and 5 for 6 at 90% from the free throw line. Okay, listen. Unfortunately, I did not get to watch this game in its entirety. And I'm kind of salty about it, I'm not going to lie. Because anybody that knows me knows that I love a good basketball game. I mean, I love basketball in general. I love sports in general. It's a thing, okay? It's a thing. But the WNBA right now, the NBA just ended with the OKC Warriors becoming the 2025 NBA champions. Okay, we're now getting into the thick of the WNBA itself, not quite to the halfway mark in terms of the All-Star break, but we are slowly getting their All-Star votes are coming in, that type of thing. Some of these ladies on these lists and these stat lines are repeat All-Stars in terms of getting voted in previous years and coming back for this year. Okay, either way, in order to make All-Stars, we gotta have stats. And here's some stats, and it's from the field shot just percent at 37%. Field from 3-point land, about 18%, 17%, if you will. Had 19 turnovers and 39 rebounds total. Now, if you were on the show with us on Monday, we talked about how some of these very similar stats for some of these other teams were kind of a kind of a formula for a game lost either one to the other in terms of points. But if you're not grabbing rebounds, if you're not boxing out, there's your formula for a lost game by a couple points. Okay, and just looking at some of the comments here on TikTok, and thank you guys on the TikTok stream, on the Facebook stream, all the things. If you're just joining us, we're going over our WNBA recap from Tuesday night. Okay. And I'm not quite sure. I see a question, hashtag recognize game. Shout out. And really, I'm not quite sure what the format's going to be for this. I'm not real sure why they haven't quite revealed the full format, and it makes no sense, especially because when they had it all set out last year, and I wonder if it's because they pushed it out so fast last year because it was an Olympic year. It's not an Olympic year this year, which I feel like it makes it a little bit harder for them to kind of just put out the entire format, because who knows, they may be trying to add stuff, maybe trying to take stuff away, probably trying to make it those fun 3 or 4 days rather to fulfill that all-star weekend. So either way, going back to some stats, Washington Mystics shot about 38% from the field, 38.5% from 3, 16 turnovers, and 40 rebounds total for this first game recap here on the Mack Truck Podcast. Again, thank you for joining us. My name is Mackenzie Brooks, aka the Mack Truck, aka your worst nightmare, the Princess of Pain. We're here going back over basketball because it is still basketball season, folks. Like, I don't know if some of y'all really remember that it's still basketball season. Just because the NBA is done doesn't mean there's not basketball still on. Women's basketball is still basketball, and it's high-quality stuff. Now, moving on into the next game here. Now, in this game, I have some friends. I have, some foes who are, I have some also very important people in my life who happen to be Chicago Sky fans. And really, any chance I get, I have to rag on the Chicago Sky just because I'm an Indiana Fever fan and it's a rivalry. However, the Chicago Sky finally snapped their losing skid and beat the LA Sparks at home in the United Center 86-97 in favor of the Chicago Sky. Chicago Sky are now 4-10 on the season. The LA Sparks are now 4-11 on the season. Now, I was having some conversations with some of my favorite people yesterday in terms of just the Chicago Sky itself. The Chicago Sky, personally, I feel like have kind of kicked themselves in the behind because you lose Courtney Vandersloot to an ACL. You get rid of Teresa Witherspoon, who was literally just how can I say, building it up, like literally building up the momentum that she had from last year's draft, getting an Angel Reese, getting a Camila Cardoso, who, by the way, had a career high, and we'll get to here in just a second. But then you also don't re-sign Kennedy Carter, so you now don't have a point guard, which I feel like has really just kind of screwed them inevitably, and that's okay. Sometimes it happens. And then when you flip it over to the LA Sparks side of things, very similar, but you add a Kelsey Plum, who is a point guard in herself. Okay, you have a Rakia Jackson, you have a Cameron Brink coming off of injury. Okay, so when you had these pieces, it's going to take a little bit of chunks in for these types of teams that are rebuilding to get back a momentum that they had at the end of last season, middle of last season type of thing. Now, Azura Stevens for the LA Sparks, 21 points. It goes 8 for 11 from the field and goes 1 for 4 at just about 40-ish% from the free throw line. Camila Cardoso, who finally I feel like is starting to get her feet underneath her in terms of just getting her pro build and pro body in terms of being able to play basketball at a professional level. Has a career high, 27 points, goes 10 for 15 from the field, and goes 6 for 8 from the free throw line. And not to mention your girl Angel Reese, okay? Your girl Angel Reese out here getting a double-double to help snap the Chicago Sky skid. Okay, they're back in the win column, and I know they're looking to rebuild on that. If I'm the LA Sparks, I'm building on what I have. I'm getting Rakia Jackson back into the rotation. I'm getting Cameron Brink as many looks as I can. If I'm Kelsey Plum, I'm facilitating and getting points where I can. And it's not like some of these teams that are like 5-10, 4-10, 6-10, like just getting up there in the ranks in terms of trying to rebuild their win column. They're not that far off. That it would be different if they were like just complete blowouts all the time, but these games are competitive, people, and that's what sports is all about. We're here to be competitive. We're here for one goal and one goal only, whether it's to make it to playoffs, to improve from last year, but ultimately to win a title. Unfortunately for both of these teams right now, they are not in title contention. If it were to be a playoff break right now, both of these teams will be in the bottom quarter of it, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You just keep building and going from there. In terms of team stats here, the LA Sparks shot just about 50% from the field at 49.2% to be exact, just about 27% at 26.9% from the three-point line, 18 turnovers, and 27 rebounds in terms of the LA Sparks team stats. Chicago Sky team stats are as follows, just below 45% from the field at 44.6% itself. Okay, 33.3%, so just at 33% from beyond the arc in terms of your three-point range. 13 turnovers and 36 boards, which is a perfect formula for a very well-fought win. Okay? Love it here. We love it here. Listen, like I said, Camila Cardoso hits a career high with 27 points, and I love to see it. I love to see some of these players that aren't really highly talked about, which to me is absolutely ridiculous. I don't really know how they're not being talked about or really more highly sought after, but unfortunately, the way the media runs these days is just like, oh, well, if you're not causing some kind of controversy or you're not a star player, then you're not getting the licks and you're not getting talked to. But what happened to those types of players that used to make the news and make the headlines for just grinding out hard-nosed basketball? Camila Cardoso, one of them. Aaliyah Boston, who we'll get to in a little bit. Okay, like Courtney Vandersloot before she got hurt. Like, I could keep going, y'all. I literally could keep going. But it's the fact of the matter is that sports is being played at a high level still. And I, at this point, really wish that the media itself would just learn to I don't know, maybe start to include people, like every type of athlete. Like, you don't have to be causing a controversy, or you don't have to be, just really starting out looking for trouble in terms of being the media to get attention. Like, it drives me nuts. And maybe because I'm old school, I don't know. I can't call it really, but it's very agitating. And let me be clear, to some of you syndicated shows out here, it's rather irritating to see y'all go in this random whirlwind of freaking like, oh, well, Angel Reese is this, or she can't play this. Or, first of all, again, and I will say this till I'm blue in the damn face. I'll say this till I'm blue in the damn face. Until y'all can strap up a pair of basketball shoes and beat some of these ladies and some of these athletes, rather, on a game on 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 21, pig, horse, fish, okay, goldfish, Uno flip. I don't give a damn. Until you can suit up and play some of these players that y'all talk a mess about. Don't talk no mess. And again, until you can beat me off the line, don't come in here talking your mess. Don't do that. Don't do that, because like what you gonna do is get yourself hurt and in trouble. Okay, let me just tell you that right now. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Either way, moving back into some of the game stats here for our next game. The Atlanta Dream are now 10-5. The Atlanta Dream have been hot all season, like all season. You get a Brittany Griner, you get a Breonna Jones from the Indiana Fever, and you add that to a Ryan Howard. Listen, 10-5 on the season is fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. You're well above 500. Okay, you're in the top quarter of the WNBA ranks. Okay. But you drop one to another team that's rebuilding with Arika Igumawale, Haley Van Lith, and Paige Buckets. The Dallas Wings steal this one in Dallas. 68-55. Dallas Wings are now 4-12. Again, the Atlanta Dream is 10-2. Ryan Howard, 23 points, 6 for 17 from the field, and 6 for 9 from the free throw line. Okay? Listen, I'm going to stop right there. Ryan Howard is a dog. Okay? I don't care what nobody says. Ryan Howard is a dog. And I'm talking like vicious pit bull German Shepherd mix. Like, first of all, and listen, I'm an Indiana Fever fan till I'm blue in the face. But I'm also, like I always state, I'm a player fan as well. If I'm playing back, if I'm in the WNBA right now, I don't want no parts of her. I'll take my big self sitting on the bench. I'm going to sit myself over on this elbow far away from her because I'm not going. I can't go. Because that's just how good she is, and that's just how pivotal she is to her game and to her team. And like I said, you add a Brittany Griner down below. Listen, Kobe and Shaq, okay? Listen. MJ and Scotty. Mack Truck and Evan Thunder Bradfield. I mean, listen, the duos, I could keep going, okay? I literally could keep going. Either way, I mean, and then you flip it to the other side. You have a phenom in Arika Igumawale, and you add a Haley Van Lith, and you add a Nalissa Smith from an Indiana Fever team. You still have Dejanay Carrington, and you have Paige Buckets. Like, the teams that are built currently just from the past two drafts are absolutely ridiculous in the best way possible. And once these teams start to get their feet under them and start to actually gel, they're going to be a problem. Hell, they're already a problem. Already a problem. Like, I don't even know what to tell y'all. They are already a problem, like, quite literally. And I love to see it. Just because the record doesn't show it doesn't mean they're not a problem. If you watch basketball, you know this. Let me repeat myself. If you watch basketball, you know this is a fact already. I don't have to sit there and explain it no more to you. It's a thing. Arika Igumawale, being the phenom that she is, 21.6 for 14 from the field, and 100% at night for 9 from the free throw line. Okay? I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I got to see some of this game. Listen, I'm telling you, the next time these two teams play each other in Atlanta, I'm going to call it right now. This game will go into overtime. I can't call who wins. I'm going to tell you it's going to go into overtime, though. That's a fact. It's a fact. Like, listen, if you watch the game, you know what you're looking for. Not all sports is always about flashiness and dunks and, high power passes. Sometimes it's about the fundamentals. And that's what the WNBA is, or has been, rather. The past 3 seasons, it's been a lot of foundation and finesse, or like I call it, foundational finesse. I love it. You love to see it. Listen, I mean, I don't know how much more I can explain the love I have for sports and just the fact that I love to see women's sports constantly growing. Like, I don't know how much more I can express that without getting blue in the face. You know what I'm saying now? Like, it's crazy. Either way, going on. There's some team stats here. The Atlanta Dream shoot just about 23% from the field at 23.4%. Just about 21% at 20.6% from the free throw or from the 3-point lane, rather, 10 turnovers and 37 boards on the game. Dallas Wings shoot 38% from the field, 15% from 3-point land, 11 turnovers and 44 rebounds to make the perfect formula for a game winner at home in Dallas via the Atlanta Dream. Moving on into our next game. And again, I thank you guys for joining me today here on the Mac Truck Podcast. I am the Mac Truck, the Princess of Pain, your worst nightmare, Little Debbie, whatever you want to call it. I am it. Just don't call me late for dinner, okay? Listen, it's another hot one here in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm glad to be here with you on the Tired Sports Network and the Cumulus Media Des Moines Podcast Network. Also, wherever else you get your audio streaming pleasure, you have it. I'm probably there. Probably there. Let's just be real. I might be there. Either way, if you're just joining us again via either feed, whether you're on TikTok here, StreamYard, Facebook, and all the other Twitch, YouTube, all the things here, welcome in. We're just going through our WNBA recap here. The Indiana Fever finally snapped their skin, and nobody's happier than a clam than myself. Okay? Listen, it's been very frustrating watching my Indiana Fever just come up so close and then lose a lead. Or come up so close and then get blown out. It's fine. Everything's fine. You know, everything happens for a reason, as some of my favorite people like to say. I'm very competitive, so I hate that answer, but it is what it is. But I'll tell you this, the Indiana Fever are back in the win column. They are now 500 at 7-7. They beat the Seattle Storm in Seattle, who are now 9-6. Indiana Fever get it done 94-86. Caitlin Clark had 6 points, guys. And I know the media has been blowing it up, eating it up. Oh, Caitlin Clark had 6 points. She is terrible at basketball. Nope. Listen about how many assists did she have last night? Just about 12. Had about the same amount of rebounds. Unfortunately, players get cold. But this is why you have to have multifacets of your game. You cannot just be a one-dimensional player, athlete, whatever that looks like. This is also why basketball is a team sport. And there are 10 people on the court in terms of playing the game. We can't count the rest because they're not good. And they don't actually shoot the ball. Okay. Leah Boston, though, as we mentioned at the top of the show, career high, 31 points, 13 for 18 from the field. Okay, 5 for 6 at 90% from the free throw line. Skylar Diggins, 22 points, 9 for 15 from the field, and just goes about 80%, 70% at 3 for 5 from free throw land. Okay, listen, this game could not have started any slower for the Indiana Fever if it tried. Listen. But this is why there's also 4 quarters in a game, folks. 4 quarters in a basketball game, football game, 4 periods in a hockey game. I mean, you name it, there's 4 quarters in most sports, or it's pretty lengthy, depending on what sport it is. Unless it's NASCAR, then it's like a bunch of left turns, and it's like a 3.5-day thing. Don't really understand NASCAR, but I would like to. There goes another left turn! You know? I don't know how they do it. Either way. It's what 4 quarters in basketball are for. Now listen to me. These team stats literally are not very, they're not pretty. I'll tell you that. They're not cutesy. They're not mindful, nor are they demure. But it got the job done if you're the Indiana Fever. If you're the Seattle Storm, you're a little salty. You are absolutely a little salty because I know they came into this game thinking that things was going to be sweet and smooth, and that ain't it. That's not at all it. Things weren't cutesy or smooth or none of that, okay? I'll just tell you, I'm going to tell you that right now, unless you're an Indiana Fever fan. Listen, we had to have a little bit of hope brought back to Gainbridge Fieldhouse since the Indiana Pacers weren't able to get the job done for the NBA title championship, but if I'm a Pacers fan, I'm damn proud. I'll tell you that. Hell, either way, Aaliyah Boston, Lexi Hull, and Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell, 26 points. Lexi Hull, 15 points. Okay. Leah Boston, 31 points. Together, collectively, combined for 73 of the 94 points that the Indiana Fever scored last night. Together, mind you, collectively as a trio. Team stats are as follows for the Indiana Fever. 33.3% from the field. Okay. Just about 51% from field goal range. Rather, flip those two. So 50%. from the field and 33% from the three-point land, 16 turnovers and 38 rebounds. And that is where the game was won. They were rebounding like it was going out of style. They were rebounding like a soon-to-be mother eating ice chips and craving like meat and steak and caramel apples and whatever random thing they could think of. Okay. You see how the Storm, in terms of their field, very close to them being the Indiana Fever. 46.8% from the field, 26.87% from three-point land, 17 turnovers and 21 rebounds. Listen, you have to rebound the ball in order to get points. At one time during the game, just before halftime and as the third quarter was ending, the Indiana Fever had just about 16 or 17 points off of defensive boards and turnovers from the Seattle Storm. Let's let that sink in, folks. 16 to 17 points off of defensive rebounds and turnovers caused by the Indiana Fever. That is wild and totally not unthinkable because it's basketball. But in order to rebound and make points, you got to box people out. And let me just say this before we kind of just get back into the news portion of this segment here. Listen, something needs to be done about these WNBA referees because it seems like every game, and it's not even just with the Fever. Some people thought at first because Caitlin Clark was on and all the things that, they're trying to send her a message. No, it's happening league-wide. It's quite agitating, to be honest with you. Just the lack of consistency and the inconsistency of collective agreements when it comes to what type of foul is it, who fouled. Some of these referees can't seem to get jersey numbers right. I feel like at minimum, you should probably be able to get jersey numbers correct. And like maybe know what a flagrant foul is. Maybe that would be great. I can't call it. I'm not a referee. I do know being a referee for any sport is tough. That much I do know. However, when your league keeps getting complaint after complaint, like damn near game after every game about the officiating in said sport, you would think that would raise a red flag to Kathy Engelbert. Yet here we are still with the same problem. But we never know. She might address it during the All-Star break. Very unlikely, but it could possibly happen. It's a thing. It's just very interesting to me how some of these referees can sit there and call themselves referees, but then sit there and have to like struggle with simple calls. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw some of the game last night in terms of the Indiana Fever, but Coach Stephanie White, I thought her head was going to fly off of her shoulders. I also thought Coach Noelle Quinn, I thought her head was going to fly off her shoulders too. I ain't going to hold you. And I don't even blame them. Frankly, I don't blame them. I really, really don't. I really don't. Either way, news coming out of the Indiana Fever front. Center forward, part shooting guard, part Swiss Army knife, DeWanna Bonner has made her exit from the Indiana Fever basketball team due to personal reasons and stated in a nutshell today that the fit for the Indiana Fever and DeWanna Bonner just wasn't what she thought was going to be. For those of you who do not know, DeWanna Bonner has missed 5 games due to personal reasons. And everybody wants to try to guesstimate. Everybody wants to try to figure it out. Let that woman be. If she feels like it wasn't a fit, it wasn't a fit. But this is why she was picked up in free agency. When you get picked up in free agency, essentially you have the choice to be waived. And on top of being waived, you also have the chance to go back to the team that you were or find a different team while the trade deadline is still open and available. Now, the good news for the Indiana Fever, okay, and the Indiana Fever fans, while Caitlin Clark was out for those 2.5 weeks with that quad injury, they signed probably one of the coolest point guards to play basketball in the WNBA currently, in Aari McDonald. Now, they have re-signed Aari McDonald because of the waiving of DeWanna Bonner. And I am so excited because it's going to add another weapon for the team. And I can't wait. I'm excited. Okay. Aari McDonald is a monster. She's also a defensive prowess. She can also shoot the 3. She also knows how to use her mid-range to her advantage. A lot of point guards know how to do that. A lot of point guards are not great at it. Ari McDonald is one of those point guards that is great at it. I love to see it. I would hope that Coach Stephanie White, would consider putting her in the starting rotation, whether it's the starting 5, 6, or 7. And part of me thinks that DeWanna Bonner made her exit from the Indiana Fever because she wasn't starting. I can totally see that. And this is a theory I didn't get to bounce off of anybody. This was a theory I didn't get to really talk to anybody about per se. But I think it is very much a possibility that she did not like the fit because she wasn't part of the starting 5. But in the same respect, I also feel like she could have very well been okay with being in that very first rotation with her and Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham, with those 3 starting in terms of your first 3 to rotate in and out. And you have a Damiris Dantas who dropped about 10 or 11 points last night to help the Indiana Fever win. Okay. I think personally, just with whatever personal issues that DeWanna Bonner has going on, I think obviously has attributed to it. I do also think that it's a little bit of the fact that she has that veteranship, and sometimes when you have that experience, you feel like you should probably be starting over a second, third, or fourth year player. And I completely understand that. Been there, done that, wrote the book 3 times, went through it a little bit this season, but had to work myself back to get in that starting position or being in contentions for a starting position in terms of my own sport. With that being said, sports happen. Life happens. There's just no way to control it. But I personally wish nothing but the best for DeWanna Bonner. I think that she's still going to be the monster that she is on the court and that everybody knows she can be. Frankly, I think she's going to end up back with her wife and the Connecticut Sun. Okay. She could end up with the Mercury. There's a lot of places she could end up. I just know it's not going to be the Fever again this season, which is really, really sucky. But, you still wish the athletes nothing but the best. And with that being said, we're moving on into our next topic. Again, thank you for joining us here on the Mack Truck Podcast, presented to you by the Tired Sports Network and Cumulus Media Des Moines Podcast Network, as well as Facebook, Twitch, StreamYard, TikTok Live for all you on the TikTok stream, in the atmosphere, in the hallway, all the things. My name's the Mack Truck. Welcome to the show. If you're just joining us, we just went over our WNBA recap, news and notes for today and yesterday's game. We are moving on into the next topic, that is NBA news and notes. But before that, this portion of the show is brought to you by The Truth Barbering Shop, 6563 University Avenue, Windsor Heights, Iowa. The beard and barber stylings of Gary Duke Williams, Chris Fats Dixon the barber, and Sister Nisha Brown herself for all your beauty and beautician needs. Go ahead and hit them up on Booksy or Facebook.com to book your appointments. Make sure you tell them the Mack Truck sent you. It's NBA draft night, folks. Listen, I'm not even going to lie. I have quietly been excited about the NBA draft. Mainly because of there's really, in my humble opinion, there's really 3 different people that could have taken the crown to be number 1 overall draft pick. Obviously, we all know who that is in Cooper Flagg. Okay. Shooting guard, small forward, power forward from the University of Duke. Blue Devils. Okay. 6'7". Kid's a monster. I ain't gonna lie. And I'm not even gonna hold you. Was not the biggest Cooper Flagg fan. Because it was the media this, the media that. Like, can y'all just let that boy play? But I watched him a lot this season. Super convinced now. Super convinced he should be the number 1 overall pick. Not gonna lie. Super convinced. And I love it. And for those of you who are highly interested in the NBA draft, the NBA draft is tonight. Round 1 in just about 2-ish hours. 7 p.m. Eastern time. Well, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, rather. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On ESPN ABC. Okay, and here's a list of your top 6 prospects for the NBA draft. Again, Cooper Flagg, Duke, power forward, small forward, all the things. Dylan Harper out of Rutgers, point guard, shooting guard. Ace Bailey, also out of Rutgers, shooting guard, forward and small forward combo. VJ Edgercombe, Baylor, shooting guard. And frankly, I feel like he probably could have gotten in that top 3 or 4, like super lottery pick, as I like to call it, like which combination of these players could go 1, 2, 3, or 4, with obviously the betting favorite going number 1 is going to be Cooper Flagg. That's just, I don't think that's going to change. I mean, I would think a team would have to give up a bunch of money and a lot of stardom in terms of their roster to grab that spot to be able to get a Cooper Flagg, or be able to even flip the tables on somebody and to get an Edgecombe or Bailey. Okay, that type of thing. Also got Trey Johnson out of Texas, shooting guard as well. Also, Con Canoopel, Cooper Flagg's running mate out of Duke, shooting guard, small forward. I frankly am here for it. I really can't wait till the draft tonight. I'm not even gonna lie. It has been a long time since I personally have been excited to watch an NBA draft. Yet here I am, thrilled like a 3-year-old at a candy store. I'm excited as hell. I can't even wait. Listen, like I said, it's draft night. I think for me, like personally, and I feel like if I were to take a poll, like try to get as many like as much content or as much like engagement in a poll or voting, I would bet that the NFL draft would be the number one thing that most sports fans are excited for, and then the NBA draft. I feel like it would be the NBA draft, the NFL draft, the NBA draft, NHL draft, WNBA, baseball, and hockey. That would be my guess, but you never know, because everybody's opinions on sports and feelings changes all the time. All the time. It changes all the time. So you never know. Either way, moving on to some NBA news and notes here. Fred VanVleet signs a new 2-year contract worth $50 million with the Rockets with the player option in 2026-2027 season. That comes to you via Shams Charania via ESPN. And again, all this information that I'm ingesting and giving to you, we're having topics and conversations about, can literally be found anywhere you find sports information. ESPN, Yahoo, Fox Sports, Associated Press, it doesn't matter. It is 99% of the time on there. Okay, so that's where I'm getting my information. And you always want to cite where you're getting your things, because we're not quite that cool to be syndicated, but that's what we're trying to be. So you got to give credit where credit is due. Either way, the Rockets declined the $44.9 million contract option in 25-26. So essentially they declined that option for Fred VanVleet, give him a new 2-year contract, and give him a little bit more money on top of it, which also helps him to avoid free agency. And personally, I'm here for it. Not even gonna lie, I'm here for it. Fred VanVleet has that championship pedigree. Won the championship in Toronto with Pascal Siakam and Kawhi Leonard, same season that Klay Thompson tore his Achilles and ACL, rather, tore his ACL. Really rough deal for him that year. But either way, you have that championship pedigree with a Fred VanVleet, and you add a Kevin Durant to it. It's ridiculous to me. And I absolutely can't wait. We do have more details on the current Kevin Durant contract and the trade details in terms of that. We did go over some of it last show, but this is what we have days in between shows for, to give you more information for the next time around. Now, moving on, switching to a different part of Texas in the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks and Kyrie Irving declined the $43.4 million player option for 2025-2026. Kyrie plans to sign a 3-year deal, again, with the Mavs, to sign about $119 million contract with the Mavericks. The contract will also keep Kyrie Irving out of free agency and keep him in Dallas for another 3 years, with the new deal and player option in 27-28 season also comes to you via Shams Charania via ESPN NBA Insider, Senior Insider, that is. And I think Kyrie Irving, and I've always thought this, and I don't know why, and maybe just because I feel like he was a little bit overshadowed by the likes of LeBron James, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anybody that knows basketball in general knows how pivotal LeBron James as a basketball player and a human being is, in the best way possible, mind you. Kyrie Irving, I put on that very same pedestal. Kyrie Irving, to me, is a franchise difference maker. I mean, you could see it when he was in Cleveland. You could see it when he was in Brooklyn with KD. You could see it even this season before he lost Luka Doncic to the Lakers. You could see it when he played for Duke. Like, Kyrie Irving, and he has championship experience. He has a ring, folks. Some of y'all don't remember the fact that he has a ring. Was literally one of the first people to get a ring with that championship Cavaliers squad. When the Cavaliers and the Warriors were very much so a rivalry. When you had all those star players, you had LeBron James, you had Kyrie Irving, you had Kevin Love, and you had the quadrant over in Golden State. The Splash Brothers, Clay and Steph, Draymond Green and his wild self, Harrison Barnes, Sean Livingston, okay, Andre Iguodala. Like, listen, okay, like it was a thing. So the fact that the Dallas Mavericks want to keep Kyrie Irving around to rebuild their program is ridiculous, and in such a good way, because you also remember you now still have a Klay Thompson who also has 3 rings himself. The man has 3 rings himself. You put those two together, if you can get Klay and Kyrie to kind of show some of their prime time abilities from years past, and you just add to it, the Dallas Mavericks are going to be scary. They're going to be scary. Going to be scary. I love it. And when you get these types of contracts, when players get these kinds of top contracts, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, WNBA, it doesn't matter. When you are investing in your players and you are showing your players that their hard work is not being unnoticed, it's very motivational. And Kyrie Irving has always been one of those players. So the fact that they were mutually able to agree on declining that 2025-2026 option for the last part of his contract and remake a 3-year one is phenomenal. I love it. Moving on to the topic at hand in terms of the NBA itself. Kevin Durant goes back home to Texas and is now a Houston Rocket with Fred VanVleet. I personally am very giddy about this. I'm not even going to hold you. I'm not going to hold you. To be able to see Kevin Durant just flourish the way he has, he got himself a ring in Golden State as well. Came very close in some of the other teams. And I feel like, frankly, if the Seattle Supersonics were still a thing, which they should be, y'all need to install the team. Just damn do it already, okay? If the Seattle Supersonics were still a team, I think Kevin Durant and Chris Paul would have a couple rings together, frankly. That's just me. I can't call it, but that's what, listen. And that maybe that's just how much of an old school basketball head some of us are. In fact, the co-host for the Recognized Game podcast, Mr. Evan Thunder Bradfield, him and I were talking about this a couple months ago. Frankly, just before the All-Star break for the NBA. We literally were having a conversation about old school teams and what some of those old school teams would be like if they were still an installment with some of the types of players we have in the NBA now. With that being said, going back to what I just said about Kyrie Irving and the Dallas Mavericks being appreciative of his hard work and him trying to turn the corner with their franchise, the Houston Rockets are literally doing the exact same thing, except Kevin Durant is on the last leg of a 4-year contract that he signed with the Brooklyn Nets in 2021. And for those of you who don't remember that contract currently is just about $194.22 million for 4 years, again, signed in 2021 when he was with the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving. Currently, like I said, the last leg of 4-year contract, just about $54.75 million, and is eligible for a $122 million extension come July of this year. But if he waits till January, that extension could go up another $2 million to make it a $124 million contract extension with the Houston Rockets. Currently, again, the trade details are as follows. Kevin Durant gets traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets for Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, and 5 second-round picks in this year's draft. Now, The funny thing about Dylan Brooks is it seems like he just seems to be shipped around everywhere, mainly because he's a giant problem. Unfortunately, Dylan Brooks is very angry, very much doesn't actually want to play basketball very much. I'm just going to bully you, okay, and try to get the basketball back to my teammates. Listen, that's not quite how that goes. This is why you keep getting shipped around. This is why you're not getting decent contracts, my friend. You're looking real Draymond-esque, except Draymond plays basketball while he's bullying people. Just a little bit better than you do. Anyway, he also, in terms of he being Kevin Durant and being acquired by the Houston Rockets, also has the number 10 pick tonight, which is interesting to me. The number 10 pick, 5 second-round picks in the NBA draft are starting tonight. Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green. And I often wonder how Jalen Green has felt because he has slowly started to make a name for himself in the NBA as well. So I'm just sitting here like, dang, like what is it like to be a younger phenom and just be kind of uprooted? But that's the sport. Sometimes that's just how the sport happens. I mean, there were times where old school players were traded in the middle of games. Like back in the 90s, early 2000s, there would be teams there would be players that would be literally in the middle of a game and be traded in the middle of a game. Like you finishing out this game as a team member of this team and be uprooted and on to the next locker room, all your stuff, all your uniforms, numbers switched over to another team like that. So the fact that it's happened for Jalen Green after the season, I feel like is a little bit better, but I'm just not sure what the disconnect could be, in terms of that. And I love this for us. Now, with that being said, we're into the final part of our show, guys. Into the final topic. UFC 317 International Fight Week preview, full preview here on the Mack Truck Podcast. And again, I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for joining us on the Tired Sports Network, all of the streaming sites, via TikTok, via Cumulus Media Podcast Network, via the Tired Sports Network, via Your Mama's Kitchen with the Hot Apple Pie. Okay, I am the Mack Truck, the Princess of Bread, Queen of Snacks, all the things. Okay, but it is fight week. For those of you who are fight fans, for those of you who look forward to sunshiny weather and literally like all things UFC, MMA, boxing, PFL, UFL, XPTGL, MFL, okay, all things combat sports, you look forward to International Fight Week. As do I. 2 title shots here. 1 night. 1 fight week. I'm excited. Let's get into it. Now listen, for those of you who follow the UFC, know how important this fight card is. You also know that there are a lot of different mixtures of fights. Some of these I don't quite understand, if you want me to be completely honest with you. But this is why I'm trying to get paid to be an athlete and talk sports, and some of these people are already getting paid to do exactly what they do, and they're good at it. Now, starting off with really the top 5 fights of this card, guys. Starting off in the lightweight division, Beneil Dariush, who comes in at a minus 105 favorite, 26-1, will face Renato Moicano, 6-1, to start out this UFC Fight Week International card. I'm excited. The last time Beneil Dariush fought, I think unanimous decision or a split decision. But again, this is why we always say, never leave it up to the judges. If you're going to fight, make sure you win handily and make sure they know who won the fight. On the flip side, Renato Moicano, again, 26-1, 20 wins, 6 losses, 1 no contest, comes in at also as the favorite, minus 115, which means there's about this much of a betting margin in between the two of them. Both of them coming in as a favorite. Renato Moicano coming in as a little bit of a higher ranked favorite, and that's okay. That means there's money being placed on both of them to win, which means Vegas books are winning. You love it. Moving on, Into the flyweight division, Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van in the flyweight division. Brandon Royval comes into this fight 17-7-0 as a plus 110 favorite. Joshua Van comes into this fight 14-2-0 as a plus 110 favorite, which means it's an even money line, folks. It's an even money line. And now, obviously, money lines and betting lines are subject to change. I'm sure they have changed since I've written these notes, since I've done my research, all the things. I think it's about time for Brandon Royval to get his get back. Brandon Royval has fought some of the best flyweights. He's fought some of the best bantamweights. I think he's a perfect flyweight. I think if he can beat Joshua Van and use his tempo, I think it's over with. I think Brandon Royval can propel himself into title contention if he keeps building on what he's done now. I think for Joshua Van, he's very sturdy, very much a switch stance fighter. If Brandon Royval gets caught, it could be over like that. But this is what we love combat sports for. Okay, this is literally what we love the UFC and MMA and boxing for. If you are a fan of such a sport. Now, moving on, Peyton Talbot, bantamweight division versus Felipe Lima. Felipe Lima comes into this fight minus 195 favorite. Peyton Talbot comes in at plus 165 on the betting lines as well. Peyton Talbot is 9-1-0. Okay, Felipe Lima is 14-1-0 as well. So a little bit more experience. I personally don't know who I'm going to pick for this fight. I'm not even going to hold you. This fight has fight of the night written all over it to me. Peyton Talbot, very, very vicious ground and pound. Very much would much rather take your legs from out underneath you and then strike and let you back up. However, Felipe Lima is one of the best Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioners in terms of the younger side of the sport people have seen. Very much models of Charles Oliveira, who we'll get to very soon. Listen, I can't wait for this fight card. I literally cannot wait for this fight card. It's going to be ridiculous. It's nuts, and I'm for it. Love it here. Love it here. Now, moving on into our co-main event. Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France for the undisputed flyweight championship of the world. Alexandre Pantoja comes in this fight 29 losses rather, 29 wins, 5 losses, 0 no contests, and 1 tie. Kai Kara-France, also who has a very credible record himself, 25 wins, 11 losses, 0 no contests or disqualifications. This one's also going to have fight of the night written all over it. Kai Kara-France has come so close to getting a title. It's ridiculous. He was a bantamweight and dropped down. Alexandre Pantoja has gained the belt, lost the belt, and now has gained it back. I think Kai Kara-France is going to get the job done if it doesn't go into late rounds. Kai Kara-France has not fought in a lot of championship rounds. Alexandre Pantoja is built for this. This is his pedigree. Alexandre Pantoja has literally rebuilt his life through the sport, much like a Kai Kara-France. And it's probably going to be bloody. Not even going to lie. If Pantoja gets Kai Kara-France on the ground, it could go over very, very fast. If Kai Kara-France even clips Alexandre Pantoja, it could be over very fast. This fight has knockout power. It has submission power. One hit it and quit it and done. Very, very, listen, it's a thing. It could happen. Literally could happen. But that's what happens when you are in the fight game. And I don't know how many people don't quite understand that. It is what it is. Either way, moving on into our main event here on the Mac Truck Pod. Again, thank you for joining me via talk, via StreamYard. My name is Mac Truck. We're getting the very last few topics here, going over the full entire preview of UFC 317 International Fight Week. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira for the undisputed and vacant world lightweight title. For those of you who don't know, Ilia Topuria was the featherweight champion for the longest and vacated the belt to move up in weight. After that belt was vacated, Ilya Topuria comes in this fight 16-0-0. That's 16 wins, no losses, and no contest. He's fighting one of the best practitioners in grappling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Charles Dubronx Oliveira. Okay. Dubronx comes into this fight 35-10-0. That's 45 fights in a professional career and has maintained nothing but professionalism and elite status as an athlete. This betting line, however, is very interesting to me. Ilya Topuria comes into this fight minus 550 as a favorite. Charles Oliveira comes into this fight plus 375. What? Like, make that make sense to me. Make that make sense to me. Somebody make that make sense to me. Listen. And it's not even so much the amount of fights. For me, the amount of fights doesn't matter. Okay? Ilya Topuria has 16 fights. He's undefeated. Charles Oliveira has 45 fights total. 35 of those wins, 10 of those being losses. 2 of those being title defenses and a title game. But to put a 550 bet on somebody who's moving up in weight, who's never fought 5 full rounds at a heavier weight, is ridiculous to me. And it's low-key disrespectful, but if that's what the money line calls for, that's what the money line calls for. Either way, lightweight title's on the line. And just here's some more stats for you in terms of these two individuals in particular before we get to the very last thing on our show list here. Like I said, Ilya Topuria vacated the featherweight title to move up in weight. He wants the lightweight title. You're going to have to beat Charles Oliveira handily to do that. Charles Oliveira is going to have to keep up with Ilya's youth. Everybody knows that. Charles Oliveira is a little bit older than him. He's also a little taller, a little stronger. Could probably choke him out like that. But don't get caught, though. If I'm Charles, don't get caught. Do not get caught. Don't get caught by Ilya Topuria's speed. That man is quick as hell. Don't do it. Like I said, Charles Oliveira was a former lightweight champion, looking to regain his belt after losing to submission via Islam Makhachev in 2022. Islam Makhachev has also vacated the belt, which is why it's vacant now. Now listen, not really sure why some of these fighters are vacating belts. Not sure if the wear and tear of being a fighter is just waiting on them. It happens. I mean, it happens. It happens to every athlete. If you play at a high level, it happens to every athlete. It don't matter. It don't matter who you are. It really don't. It really don't. Perfect example, John Bones Jones, who has now retired again from MMA and the UFC. It was announced this past Friday as Dana White and the matchmakers for the UFC were looking to book a fight with John Jones and Tommy Aspinall to unify both interim heavyweight championship title belts to unify into one. John Jones announced to Dana White this past Friday, and Dana White went on social media, made the announcement on the press conference for UFC Fight Night, Jamal Hill versus Khalil Rountree Jr. last weekend. So now, as it stands, the heavyweight championship title holder is Tommy Aspinall. And it has been confirmed. You can find this on ESPN, Yahoo Sports, AP News. It is there. It is a thing. Tommy Aspinall is now the current reigning and will be soon defending world heavyweight UFC champion of the world. And they're currently working to book a heavyweight defense for him. And frankly, if you want my honest opinion, folks, I think there's one of two choices that Tommy Aspinall's first heavyweight defense is going to be. If you know MMA and you know heavyweight MMA and you know heavyweight pugilistic sports, to me, there's 3 people. Well, there's really 3 people that come to mind, but I'm not really sure about the third one, but I feel like it's a high possibility. Tommy Aspinall, current champion, could fight one of 3 people: Cyril Gane, Francis Ngannou, or Stipe Miocic, the greatest heavyweight to ever do it, in my opinion. Greatest heavyweight to ever do it. One of those 3. Again, like I said, Cyril Gahn, Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic. And I'm seeing some comments here on the TikTok feed. So anticlimactic, though. I wanted Bones Jones and Ngannou. Everybody wanted Bones Jones and Ngannou. Ngannou went and made more money boxing, all the things, and came back. John Jones took a year off to gain weight properly to be a heavyweight, which I actually admire, because a lot of fighters that want to, jump up in weight class think that they can do it in 12, 13, 14 week camp. Okay. Statistically speaking, that is not quite how it's done. And there's a lot of health risks that involved. You also have to learn how to go extra rounds, either with the weight drop or with the weight gain, depending on what you're doing. It's not conducive. And I completely understand why people do it, though. If I have an opportunity to either make more money or go for a belt faster, I might take that route. Listen, if anybody can tell you they've been there, it's me. Okay. Either way, the fact, again, John Jones, one of the greatest to ever do it, whether pioneer, whether championship status holder, however you see him, he is one of the greatest to ever do it. And the fact that he is now re-retired, and personally, I don't think he's coming back. I think he has done enough in terms of the sport. I think the sport has served him well. The sport has given him the lifestyle in terms of being able to take care of his family and himself that he needed to, and that he's needed to. I mean, and I frankly don't think an Aspinall fight versus either one of those three is very anticlimactic. I think it's very, very typical, especially for a first title defense. However, I also just now came up with a fourth name for the possibility of the heavyweight contention. But I don't quite know where this person is ranked currently. I could also see them throwing a Derek Lewis Black Beast at Tommy Aspinall, for the record. I absolutely see them. I could see Dana White throwing in Derek Lewis in the pool to fight the heavyweight title. I could absolutely see that being a thing. And I almost really want that. I ain't going to hold you. I almost really want Black Beast versus Tommy Aspinall for a World UFC Heavyweight Championship bout. But then who would you put as the co-main event? Or do you make the co-main event Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes? I think that would be a thing. But I also feel like Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes has to be a headliner. I feel like it's that good of a fight to be a headliner. But I feel like it could go one of two ways in terms of that. But either way, that's all we got today, folks. That's all we got. Listen, second day in a row in terms of shows. We got it done. Went over the NBA draft news and notes. Went over WNBA recap and notes. Went over a full recap or a preview, rather, of UFC 317, Topuria versus Oliveira, and Pantoja versus Kai Kara-France. Okay. We went over John Jones retiring. We went over the fact that I still think some of you mugs out here got a very old school mindset when it comes to sports. So I'm going to just reiterate from what I said on Tuesday, or Monday rather. Women in sports are supposed to be aggressive. Sports are competitive. Get out of your head and stop eating stale Cheetos in your grandmama basement. With that being said, my name is Mack Truck. Thank you for joining me here today on the Mack Truck Podcast, presented to you by Cumulus Media Des Moines Podcast Network, TikTok Live, and the Tired Sports Network. I appreciate you guys joining me. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and support all the shows in the Tired Sports Network, as well as all the shows in the Cumulus Media Des Moines Podcast Network. Okay, make sure you follow us on 97% of socials because we're there too. Okay, you can find me here on the personal page. You can also find the show page at TheeMackTruckPod _TSN. Okay, if you're sitting on here looking at me on another site, you can find me on TikTok at TheeMackTruck _ for the personal page. Okay, but we're out. That's all I got for you. Listen, that's all I got. I gotta go put some spandex on so I can go swing a bat. Okay. In the illustrious words of Ellen DeGeneres, be kind to one another. Okay. In the illustrious words of the great Yinza himself, Pat McAfee, be a friend, tell a friend some nice. It could change their life. And in the illustrious words of myself and the great Prescott Kelly, stay up, stay blessed, stay tuned, and stay sporty. We will see you on the next one.